Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 139 based on novel. So let's start. I am very sorry, but that is not possible. Barbata said my Mosha clan clone is a universe level 2. Luo Feng couldn't help but say, no, Luo Feng, have you forgotten? The 3 accounts your teacher left behind not only have strength requirements. They also require you to personally go open the account, and during that time, there'll be a scan of spirit energy. It has to be the spirit energy of the Yunmo planet form before the account can be opened. Barbata said. Luo Feng creased his eyebrows. The Moshan clan clone will be using my energy. It can easily use my spirit energy. Wrong. The Mosha clan is an energy life form. Its true form is that life crystal. It doesn't have any spirit energy at all. How can it use your spirit energy? Barbata said. Luo Feng was stunned. Flesh and blood life forms, whether it was humans or beasts or space beasts, as long as they walked that same path, they all had a soul and spirit energy. Spirit energy was a part of the soul after all. Energy life forms, however, were totally different. Their core was the life crystal, not spirit energy at all. Just like the automaton race, they were in essence living Ares. They did not contain any spirit energy at all. Hence back within the Yunmo planet ship, when the Yunmo planet master Hu Yangbo and his undying underlings all died, only Barbata survived because he was a living AI. The life forms were different in many ways, even the lifespans were different. Living Ares, even if they didn't become undying, they could still continue to live on, just like that Lord Wu. Damn. Luo Feng shook his head. I still thought, this really disappoints me. Luo Feng was helpless. You punk, don't get too greedy. Barbata said, your body is that of a golden horned beast, the most elite bloodline of the entire universe. And you have the Moshan clan, the strongest assassins in the universe. You've already gotten so many advantages. Yet, you are feeling disappointed over such rubbish? I have never ever met anyone with such a sick combination before, ha ha. Luo Feng laughed. The golden horned beast and Mosha clan, both were really rare even in the entire universe. Many undying had yet to even see one before. And Luo Feng managed to get both bodies. It was a huge advantage altogether. Alright, I'll continue to practice my flying. Luo Feng laughed, becoming a beam of light and headed towards a crevice on the surface of Mars where the universe ship was. He entered the ship and connecting his consciousness to the virtual universe network. Virtual universe, Black Dragon Mountain Island Slaughterhouse. Here the little demon Barbata waved his hand and immediately the space around warped. A large machinery factory appeared. Within that factory were countless blurry machine traps all prepared beforehand. With just one look, the entire factory looked like a bee's nest. As it was densely packed, with just a bit of carelessness, one would easily knock into some of the machinery. This is the test for the first level of the 10,000 threads technique, the one-thread movement. Barbata pointed at what seemed like an inescapable net of machinery before them. If you are able to grab the 3,189 red balls within this factory without touching any of the machinery or getting hit by any of their attacks, then you'd be considered reaching the one-thread level already. Understood? Luo Feng nodded. Yes. Since his failure with Rong-Jun before, Luo Feng had considered hard and realized that as a strong spirit reader controller, he had to be incredibly strong at flying. Man's energy had a limit. One couldn't be both a spirit reader and a fighter. Normally they would focus on one. Naturally, since he emphasized the spirit reader side, he had to emphasize flying. Battle had its own techniques. A magician's techniques in battle, like the soul imprint, was an example of that side. For the controller, the Nanshan armament's 9 levels were a form of training techniques. Defense had its own techniques too. In terms of soul, the void pagoda, and physical defense, he could rely on weapons and armors to defend. As for movement, the fighter's way of movement had different techniques too. A spirit reader stepping on a spirit weapon to fly too had its own techniques. Even to the point where, taming beasts, possession, enslaving, and other different techniques etc., had their own best or optimum techniques. The number of origin laws themselves were only that few. However, the origin laws were akin to culture and knowledge. By gaining the knowledge about these different cultures and knowledge, some are able to get strong while others may just remain ordinary. One theory was that these techniques are ways to unleash the full strengths of the origin laws. The Nanshan armament is able to unleash the origin law's greatest battle abilities. Soul imprint is possible too. The void pagoda is possible too. Absolute space is possible too. The 10,000 threads was capable too. Back when he was defeated by Rong-Jun, Luo Feng had first asked the opinion of Barbata. Hence, he finally chose the level 5 spirit weapon, the Dark Cloud Shuttle, and also chose the spirit reader's flying technique, the 10,000 threads. His teacher, the Yun-Mo Planet Master, as a powerful spirit reader, knew many flying techniques. However, Luo Feng picked one that was different from his teachers. His teacher Hun Yangbo trained in the flying technique space control back then. In terms of power, the two were comparable. In terms of how common they were, however, space control was much rarer, while 10,000 threads was a widely spread skill. Many Undying knew it. However, it being widely spread didn't mean its power was weak. This 10,000 threads technique, after hearing your explanation, why do I feel that the absolute space is very similar? Luo Feng had asked Barbata back then. Barbata answered, it is very similar indeed. Your absolute space training's second level, the infinite changes, is akin to the 10,000 threads final level. And it was said that the 10,000 threads actually even has a higher level of teleportation. However, no one knows the training method. Absolute space was split into 3 levels. Level 1 was arc light, level 2 was infinite changes, and level 3 is teleportation. The 10,000 threads technique was also split into 3 levels. First level, 1 thread, this is comparable to the absolute space's first level arc light. The second level, 9 threads. Third level, 100 threads. Third level, 10,000 threads. At this time, it was comparable to the second level of absolute space infinite changes. It was said that there was another higher level, teleportation. However, from the information that was spread about the technique outside, no one had the final training methods. This was also the reason why Barbata was so shocked when he learned that the complete training of absolute space included the teleportation level. After all, the path of comprehending the origin laws was a hard one. But, with a clear path ahead, it would save a lot of time and energy. One valuable technique, even if people were willing to spread it, the most valuable part still remained incredible valuable. Alright, what you said makes sense. This 10,000 threads technique and my absolute space follows the same path. Even though the training is different, the path is ultimately the same, they will complement each other, and my training itself will also be easier. I'll pick this. This was back then when Luo Feng decided to pick this flying technique. After these 3 years or so, Luo Feng had already completed the basics of the 10,000 threads. Stepping on the Dark Cloud Shuttle, his flying was already very perfect. However, he had yet to finish the 1-thread movement. A steel wire just touched Luo Feng's back, 3 needles were shot out and 1 touched Luo Feng's calf. Failure. Barbata shouted. From the secret weapons that covered the entire ceiling, Luo Feng became a peculiar image and flew immediately down to Barbata's side, shaking his head. The test of the 1 thread is too difficult. If I used the Mosha clan body, I would be able to dodge easily. Luo Feng laughed. 1. The virtual universe company supplies the same body to everyone. 2. The Mosha clan is an energy life form and not human. It's unable to participate in this genius battle. The little demon raised 2 fingers. I'll give you a suggestion. Return to reality and make the Mosha clan take the form of the golden horned beast to train absolute space. Okay. Luo Feng nodded. Solar system, Mars surface. The black-cloaked Luo Feng stood within the red sandstorm that engulfed the entire desert and immediately transformed. His entire body became energy, transforming into a 12 m long golden horned beast. Its appearance was completely similar to the golden horned beast. This form could be said to be a golden horned beast infant. The black crystal with 10,081 surfaces within slightly revolved, its incomparably complex golden engravings melding with space itself. It's too wondrous, this feeling. The little golden horned beast's eyes were excited, it could clearly feel the ripples in space. That familiarity, that peculiar feeling, almost as though it was returning to its mother's embrace. Begin. Rumble. The little golden horned beast immediately worked according to the instructions of absolute space, as it began its training. Its scaled wings, claws and tail all had to be used, especially its long tail which could easily do minuscule and quick changes in directions. 2 golden horned beasts, 3, 4, 5 little golden horned beasts appeared all around. At this time, 9 little golden horned beasts had appeared. With the golden horned beast structure, it was really suited for the training of absolute space. This Mosha clan, using my human form, could only produce 5 images. While using the golden horned beast form, it can actually make 9. The little golden horned beast was completely immersed in the training of absolute space. This technique was created from an earlier powerful golden horned beast from before, specially crafted to fit the golden horned beasts. Even if humans acquired it, they couldn't train it. Because they didn't have tails, they didn't have wings. Wonderful. Immersed in the training of absolute space, the little golden horned beast seemed to grasp the space origin laws easily. Time passed day by day. The golden horned beast focused on comprehending the gold origin laws while the Moshe clan body was in the little golden horned beast form training absolute space. Luo Feng himself was training on comprehending the two laws, melding them together. He was focused on studying the Nanshan armament, training hard on the 10,000 thread flying technique. With such high training efficiency, his strength continued to increase almost every day. November, December, January. Finally, China time 2070, September, the gathering of the entire universe's 1008 universe countries over 1 million geniuses. The start date of the pinnacle fights was in this month. China year 2070 September 5th, morning, Luo Feng stood on his own home's balcony. He was gazing at the east-red sun rising from afar. Even though it was summer, the morning was still pretty chilly. Getting up early onto the balcony to watch the sunrise. In her pajamas, Shushin walked onto the balcony. Looking at the current Luo Feng, even though this man had reached the peak on Earth, almost all his energy was still spent on the long and arduous unpredictable path of the strong. To this, Shushin wasn't in the least unsatisfied, as she had eventually come to terms with it. It was only at certain times when she would feel forlorn and lonely, as Luo Feng would immerse himself in his training and isolate himself for 10 days or even half a month at times. Of course, normally Luo Feng still cared a lot for his family, right? Luo Feng looked at the distant east horizon, watching the sun, smiling and nodding. These past few days you've been spending all your time in the dojo. It seems like you haven't seen the sunrise in a long time. Shushin said, you should take some time to relax once in a while, don't overwork yourself. Luo Feng looked at his wife, extending his arm to gently embrace her, saying softly, my wife, I'm sorry, we are already an old couple, you don't need to get so mushy. A hint of red appeared on Shushin's face, hee. Luo Feng laughed, tomorrow, it'll begin. Luo Feng looked at the distant rising sun, exclaiming, that's where the million geniuses from all the universe countries will gather. According to the situation of the Ganwu universe country, among these million geniuses, over half of them have stepped through the entrance of the origin laws. In the huge Axe Dojo, even a universe-level warrior who had stepped through the origin laws entrance was considered invincible. However, in truth, in the universe, there were many star levels that had stepped through those doors. Within the entire human race, there were only about hundreds of thousands of these sort of absolute geniuses. However, with 1008 universe countries, on average, with about 100 in every universe country, the Ganwu universe country leader ordered the Undying to specially get these absolute geniuses to enter the Ganwu secret area. It goes to show just how special these seedlings were. These absolute geniuses, how could they send them to the huge Axe Dojo to gamble their lives? The probability of death there was too huge. Black Dragon Mountain, Island 9-Star Bay District, Daddy, Dad, all the best. Two similar-looking youths looked at Luo Feng, their gaze filled with respect and worship. This pair of twins were Luo Feng's sons, Ping Ping and Little Hai. In terms of age, they were both 11 years old now. As they received excellent nurturing from birth, even when they were toddlers they had already reached the student level 9, and by now they've become star travelers. This caused their body structure to resemble that of Earth's ordinary 14 or 15-year-olds. In terms of looks, they received Shushin's good looks, as both of them were handsome. Unlike Luo Feng, who looked ordinary. The older brother Luo Ping had a better temperament, his character was gentle, his change since young was much more prominent. The younger Luo Hai, however, was noisy. After all, they grew up in such a household, with the teachers being people like Di Fan and Baikalo, these two Universe Level 9 warriors. Ever since Baikalo received from Luo Feng the Yun-Mo planet training techniques, last year he broke through to the Universe Level 9. The staff and helpers in the house were all star levels too. Along with Luo Feng's glory, it caused Luo Ping and Luo Hai to worship their father since young. With such a father to be proud of growing up in such a household, Luo Ping and Luo Hai may have their deficiencies in character. However, in their bones they still shared one point, which was that they wanted to become strong. The special thing about these twins, however, was they both enjoyed battling in the virtual universe games from young. Even though they later awoke their spirit reading, their talent for it was weaker than Luo Feng's before. However, the two still chose to become fighters. This made their father Luo Feng somewhat helpless. Daddy is the strongest. Little Hai shouted loudly, ha ha. Luo Feng couldn't help but laugh. 30, all the best. Standing beside, Thunder God waved his fists and shouted, you are not only representing the Ganwu universe country, the more important thing is, you are representing us the people of Earth, spoken well. Luo Hongguo nodded and shouted, his face gleeful. Little Feng, your second brother spoke well. You represent the hope of us people of Earth. Even though there are trillions of planets in the universe countries, with all the 1008 universe countries added together, that's even more shocking. However, you have to do your best, fight for us people of Earth, okay? Luo Feng nodded his head. In his mind, whether it was Thunder God, Hong, or Luo Feng, their sense of belonging was like a strong flame. I'll head out first. Luo Feng took a big step and left. Within the virtual universe's many continents, islands, over 1 million geniuses from the 1008 universe countries all went through the teleportation to the gathering spot. Ganwu Floating Island. Luo Feng appeared at the teleportation spot on the floating island. Mr. Luo Feng, please head this way. Standing beside the teleportation spot was a universe-level warrior, dressed in work clothes, smiling and directing the way to a path beside. Thank you. Luo Feng smiled and nodded, following the path. At this time Luo Feng could see in a not-too-distant plaza surrounded by a beautiful array of flowers and greenery, there was a large group of people gathered. With just a look there was at least 100, both men and women, all different-looking. However, at least 1/3 of the group had features close to the humans of Earth. The appearance of the Earth humans was considered more mainstream. Luo Feng is coming, that madman. Many youths looked over. These 100 were those that got a slot on the name list. This time the Ganwu universe country was sending out a 1,000 geniuses. Luo Feng, hi, madman. Among these people, there were many that smiled and waved at Luo Feng. Since he had taken part in the Losers Circle duels, hence he had dueled 1v1 against all these people before. Windmill, paid Luo. Luo Feng waved back at those he was on good terms with. As time passed, the geniuses all arrived, with more people arriving every second. And Savage Rongjun was considered one of the later few. Finally, the 1,000 geniuses had all gathered. These 1,000 stood together, many of whom recognized each other either from the real world or had dueled before, were engaged in discussions and reminiscing about the past. Luo Feng, your strength has risen by quite a bit this past year. I know your improvement must be huge. Savage Rongjun looked over Luo Feng. Luo Feng turned to look at the 3M tall savage. Wait till the pinnacle duels, you'll know after you try me. That confident? Savage's eyes gleamed. Suddenly, rumble. A formless pressure covered the entire plaza. The 1,000 geniuses all felt their faces go pale, their bodies shivering unconsciously. After which they heard footsteps. A giant dressed in scaled armor and wearing a helmet walked over. The energy he naturally emitted was almost like the god of death approaching, emitting that bloodthirsty aura, causing everyone to fear him immediately. A 8-meter-tall giant. This was that being from before. 1000 geniuses from the Ganwu universe country. According to the country leader's command, I'll lead you. The giant's voice rumbled. Within the helmet his eyes gave off an overwhelming sense of pressure. You all can call me Lord 13. Understood? Understood? The 1,000 absolute geniuses couldn't help but answer in unison, including Luo Feng. What a terrifying pressure. Luo Feng's forehead had beads of cold sweat. In reality, his willpower alone would immediately make my soul crumble. Terrifying. 1,000 geniuses, before this scale-armored giant, seemed like weak little ants. They felt intense fear. This was a natural reflex. No matter how strong one's willpower was, they couldn't suppress such a reaction. Rongjun. The scale-armored giant's gaze landed on the youth Savage Rongjun, Lord 13. Savage Rongjun bowed. You are the only one from our Ganwu universe country that has a guarantee of not being eliminated. The country leader has a large expectation of you. You don't let our country leader down, you understand? The scale-armored giant said, yes. Savage replied respectfully. The scale-armored giant gazed past the rest of the youths, saying coldly, as for everyone else, there's not much hope. Immediately a group of youths gripped their fists tightly. Among that group Luo Feng creased his eyebrows too. Unsatisfied? Power doesn't come from the words you speak, it's displayed in battle. The scale-armored giant said coldly, except for Rongjun, the strongest amongst you are only at Luo Feng's standards, and according to our information, there's an exceptional genius at this competition. If Luo Feng can make it into the top 5,000, that would be considered not bad. To make it into the top 1000, the chances are however bleak. Of course, you all can create miracles. In history, there have been cases where some began average but suddenly exploded into absolute geniuses during the pinnacle fights. The scaled giant's gaze swept past the large group, following which he changed the subject. All right, follow me. The group of absolute geniuses from the different star fields in the Ganwu universe country could only bear with it. Following which, Luo Feng and the other geniuses, under the leadership of the scaled armor giant, all reached the teleportation spot and were transferred to a brand new area the virtual universe had opened. This was a vast continent. Luo Feng and the others, including that scaled armor giant leading them, a total of 1,001 people simultaneously appeared on that large continent. Gunwu Universe Team, there are 1,008 skyscrapers ahead. Your Universe Countries team has been arranged for number 0825 skyscraper. A middle-aged man dressed in a white robe bowed and said respectfully to the scaled armor giant. The giant snorted out of his nose and led the team to fly towards the skyscraper. 1008 skyscrapers, one universe team for one skyscraper. Looking from far, the distant 1008 skyscrapers had formed a ring. Surrounded by these 1008 skyscrapers in the center was a beautiful plaza with birds and fragrant flowers. Within that plaza were many youths, men and women from different universe countries strolling and chatting in it. With just a look, there were at least over 10,000 people. Descend. The scaled armor giant's voice roared. The geniuses from the Gunwu inverse swiftly descended, landing beside the plaza, following a straight path towards skyscraper number 0825. The plaza had pathways to each of the many skyscrapers. Look, that skyscraper 0825 is the Gunwu universe countries. Looks like that's the genius team from the Gunwu universe. Rongjun, that tall one must be Savage Rongjun. Wow. His power is very strong, which is Rongjun. Many geniuses from the other universe countries all looked over at the Gunwu universe countries team and began their own discussions. As the genius teams of every universe country heard the discussions from the other groups, they were very dissatisfied, yet held their hatred within. To be able to make it into the Gunwu universe country's top 1,000, who wasn't an absolute genius, a proud genius above many others? And right now it was obvious that the other geniuses from the other universe countries only respected Savage Rongjun, and did not even mention any of the others. Madman, did you hear that? The other universe countries only know of our Gunwu universe country's Rongjun. The green-haired youth whispered in Luo Feng's ear. This green-haired youth was the absolute genius that was in the same city with Luo Feng in the elimination stage, the one that engaged him in a pinnacle final battle before it ended. Windmill. Windmill was luckier than Luo Feng. During the arena duels, he won 4 consecutive duels to get a slot in the name list. Luo Feng was very calm. While following the large team ahead, he said softly, Windmill, you can't blame them, Rongjun is indeed strong. The green-haired youth nodded his head. I know that, I heard about it too. This savage Rongjun's strength is enough to make it into the top 10 of the entire universe. And us, just trying to get into the universe top 1,000 will be very hard. Top 1,000? Luo Feng squinted his eyes. At this time, the geniuses from the Gunwu universe country followed the scaled armor giant into skyscraper 0825. The lobby was extremely vast, enough to hold over 1,000 people that were gathered there. Rumble. That strong pressure appeared again. These 1,000 geniuses who were all under such pressure turned and looked at the tallest scaled armor giant. That giant diminished his aura and said coldly, over here, there are number tags from 1 to 1,000. You've all been assigned one. Once you've acquired yours, enter your own room. This will be your resting and living quarters. Following which the scaled armor giant waved his hand. The number tags began to fall, landing in front of each of the geniuses. Savage Rongjun extended his arm and grabbed the tag. There was only one number on it, 1. Luo Feng extended his arm too and grabbed his tag. The number on it was 2. The 1,000 geniuses all grabbed their tags. You are dismissed. You can rest within your rooms or you can all go out to mingle with the geniuses from the other universe countries. The scaled armor giant gazed at the 1,000 geniuses, saying coldly, when it gets dark, the virtual universe company's organizing committee will gather you all. Whether you are in this space or anywhere else, you'll be able to hear it. After he finished, the scaled armor giant immediately turned around and left. Only then did the 1,000 geniuses from the Gunwu universe country let out a sigh of relief. The group started to disperse, with some staying behind to chat while others looking for their rooms. The center plaza of the 1,008 skyscrapers was extremely huge. Even with 1 million people in there, it still wouldn't be crammed. The plaza was surrounded by beautiful greenery and flowers, with little animals that could be seen occasionally. Scattered throughout the plaza too were large restaurants. A total of 99 restaurants could be found. The geniuses from the different universe countries could enter any one of these, all except for the first restaurant, Rumble. The scaled armor giant became a beam of light and landed in front of restaurant number 1. Confused about selling online? It's easy with Flipkart. Confused about selling online? It's easy with Flipkart. Becho-shan said. Lord. The staff at the entrance of the restaurant bowed respectfully. The scaled armor giant immediately stepped in. The first level of this restaurant alone had over 1,000 seats. At this time there were already over 1,000 great beings there. 13 is here. Auras and energies filled with bloodthirst or even volatility more so than stars, or ice chills so cold it would freeze one's soul were present. These auras were all spread out throughout the level. These great beings sat casually about. It was almost as though they were the land and skies themselves. The surrounding space was totally controlled by them. The scaled armor giant nodded slightly, sitting down beside another valiant and brave-looking god general. 13. I heard your Gunwu universe country has a genius called Rongjun this time? Haha, your luck is not bad, it's okay. The scaled armor giant was not modest either. Te Luo Fu, your universe country has someone called Blood Axe, right? The white-robed man with a face full of smiles, as though he was in spring itself, said, yes, there is such a genius. His character is very similar to yours. 13. This time around, your Gunwu universe country may be able to produce two who might make it into the top 1,000, right? Not far away, a tall and sturdy, bald man with bare feet and skin which was completely golden yellow in color shouted, there's another punk called Luo Feng, his strength is still insufficient. The scaled armor giant shook his head. Sci-fi, everyone is saying that your Noah universe country can get number 1. The youth in Noah universe country is very strong. He is only at star level and his space origin law comprehension has already reached such a level, really unbelievable. The great beings were all discussing. These beings were all sent by their country leaders. Like a gathering of the pinnacle of universe countries, the Undying sent here were all considered very strong even amongst the Undying. Like 13, that was one of the 18 god generals of the Gunwu universe country leader. His reputation alone was widespread. He was a being known for 1 trillion years. Skyscraper 0825, room number 2. This room was extremely spacious. The bed alone was 10 m long and 6 m wide. Some geniuses may have huge physiques, hence the room was prepared for such people. Naturally, this room which was at least 1,000 cubic meters, it was huge for Luo Feng. I'll head out and take a look. I'll have a look at the absolute geniuses from the other universe countries. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed with a strong sense of anticipation. He didn't have any hope of making it into the top 1,000. The words from the scaled armor giant was obviously based on the arena duels round. In fact, from the end of the Losers Circle duels to now, the Mosha clan clone worked hard on absolute space. His 3 bodies, the Golden Horned Beast, the Mosha clan and his Earth body all hadn't relaxed for even a second. Till now. His strength had already increased at a terrifying rate. Even though in the slaughterhouse he could already defeat the simulated Rongjun. However, from that battle till now, it's already been over 4 years. If I can improve that much, others can do so too. Within these 4 years, who knows how much that Rongjun has improved? Luo Feng thought, what's more, when he battled me back then, he hadn't even unleashed his blade work. 1008 universe countries, the geniuses are as numerous as the clouds. I'll give it a shot, we'll see how far Luo Feng can make it. Luo Feng thought. To have been suffering patiently for over 4 years, this gathering of absolute geniuses from the 1008 universe countries was exactly the place for him to unleash his full power. Luo Feng walked out of the room and joined a few other geniuses from the Gunwu universe country, leaving the skyscraper and headed towards the plaza. The center plaza was even bigger than the planet of Earth. However, these absolute geniuses' bodies were all star level 9. With just one gaze they could see over 100 kilometers. When the geniuses from the Gunwu universe country entered the plaza, look, Rongjun, it's Rongjun, I heard he has the strength to make it into the top 10, he is a very strong fellow, his comprehension of ground and space origin laws are already very high, I hope to not meet him. Many other youths from the other universe countries were engaged in discussions. This made Rongjun and the other geniuses from the Gunwu universe countries uncomfortable, naturally dispersing once they reached the plaza. Luo Feng walked with the green-haired youth. Windmill. Luo Feng, look. The green-haired youth pointed at a complete beauty dressed in a white feathery cloth. This lady was almost like the legendary angels of Earth. She even had 2 wings on her back and there was a crystal in the middle of her forehead. Her name is Ari Chen, from the Dream Shell clan. She has the power to make it to the top 10. Her nickname is Light Blade and she is extremely terrifying. Luo Feng looked at the pure Dream Shell lady, Light Blade Ari Chen. Luo Feng gazed at the plaza. Prior to this, he naturally had gathered information on the strong opponents. Even though he couldn't get specific details, he still knew the reputation and information of the stronger ones. Luo Feng looked at a black-robed skinny youth who was about 2.3 or 2.4 m tall, hearing the people beside discussing, "That's Haino, Jiolaishi, he's from the Howling Gods clan, from the Penggu universe country. I heard from the start till end he never actually made a move. He just looks at the opponent and the opponents all get hypnotized and die. He's a very scary hypnotist, who is definitely able to make it to the top 10. Walking within the plaza, they were discovering the number 1 geniuses from the many universe countries. Even though they were number 1 in their respective universe countries, within the 1008 universe countries, only about 20 of them had the power to make it to the top 10. After all, even with powers matching up, one has to still factor in the condition during the day, etc., and everything was unpredictable until the battle actually happens. However, these 20 that had the largest commotion, Luo Feng had already seen their tapes. The verdict: they all weren't weaker than Rong Jun. There were even 2 of them who were much more terrifying than Rong Jun, the prince of the Manka. Luo Feng looked at the distant silver-clothed youth. That youth with eyes burning with a mad battle spirit was also another absolute genius, regarded as one able to make it to the top 10. There hadn't been such an exceptional young genius from the Manka planet in a very, very long time. Genius were all around him. This made Luo Feng's battle spirit burn with passion. Strong. This was the gathering of the geniuses from the 1008 universe countries. Just from the surface there were about 20 able to match up to Rong Jun. And what's more, they were probably hiding their powers too. Just like how when Savage Rong Jun battled against Luo Feng, he didn't even intend to reveal his space origin laws, and if he hadn't revealed it during that battle, who would know Rong Jun was that strong? One theory. 1008 universe countries, over 1 million geniuses. From the surface, one can see that the number of absolute geniuses definitely wasn't just 20. Like Luo Feng, ones who had the power to make it into the top 10 were hiding their strengths. No one knew who these geniuses were until during the battle, Luo Feng creased his eyebrows. Silence. The entire plaza went silent. 100,000 geniuses from all over, all turned almost simultaneously to one direction. Luo Feng turned too. From the distant large skyscraper a white-clothed youth walked out. He looked very handsome, except he had no expression. His entire being was like a frozen mountain, carrying 2 blood-red long blades. Walking towards the plaza, his ice-cold gaze swept over the 100,000 geniuses, without even a ripple of emotion. Death God Boling, it's him, this round's undisputed number 1. Finally the discussions had unified and converged. Simultaneously the Howling God youth clad in a black robe, that absolute beauty from the Dream Shell clan, that Manka prince in armor, that seemingly unstoppable savage, the one carrying blood-colored huge axes, a fat strong-looking youth at least 6 m tall with slit eyes, the green-haired youth with peculiar green engravings on his face from all corners of the plaza, the absolute warrior that stood above these over 1 million geniuses. Everyone stared at this white-clothed youth carrying the blood-red long blades. Amongst these warriors, naturally included was Luo Feng as well, Death God. Luo Feng stared at the distant silhouette, muttering, "Death God Boling?" This video will end here. Thank you for watching.